Welcome to Visual Literacy, a series of YouTube videos based on the Visual Literacy Workbook for Graphic Design and Fine Art students by David Moyer and Brian Flynn, published by Oxford University Press. Chapter 11, Visual Content. In our study of visual content, which is the message communicated by a visual image, we will take a simple, systematic approach to what can be a very complicated subject, starting with two basic levels of image perception. The primary level of perception is one's initial look at the image. Is it a unified whole or a chaotic association of individual pieces? Images that are fragmented and chaotic are those that possess an overabundance of agreement between its parts, generally do not warrant a more sustained examination. The secondary level of perception is a more prolonged and visual examination of the image in order to discern its visual content. The viewer's gestalt will be busy trying to organize the image's formal content and message. A formally and conceptually informed gestalt possesses more references to associate with the visual forms on view and will be able to read images where the visual and conceptual cues are subtle. In a two-dimensional image, the viewer sees all that there is to see in an instant, but may require different amounts of viewing time to perceive the picture's formal and conceptual content in the arrangement of the image's visual parts. Images of great visual depth will reward extended viewing time. The longer one looks, the more there is to perceive. An image's visual content may require the exploration of different levels of conceptual information hidden in its form, or associated with the image's subject matter. Contextual information is information that is pertinent to an image's visual content, but is not part of its visual makeup. It may be found in an image title, or religious, cultural, historical, environment, or architectural situation, be it in a building or in a book. The association of visual form with the contextual information may provide the ground for synergy between the two types of information, further enhancing the viewer's understanding of the image's visual content. The two hands graphic is an image of high value contrast. The black figure represents two abstracted, stylized human hands, seen from an overhead view with thumbs joined and index fingers nearly touching. The two flattened black forms organize the white ground between the hands' joined thumbs and closely place index fingers into the shape of a stylized human heart. The highly contrasting figure-ground relationship makes the hands, then the heart, immediately perceivable by the viewer. We associate the abstracted, stylized image of a human heart as a sign of affection. A wedding invitation provides the architectural context for this graphic, specifying the type of affection to be romantic love. All of this information is quickly perceivable, requiring but a second's worth of viewing time. Ia Orana Maria by Paul Gauguin is rich in complementary color relationships and flattened abstracted form. The illusion of three-dimensional space is compressed through the use of alternating horizontal bands of cool and warm hues. The dark, cool green of the foreground is complemented by the Virgin's warm red sarong. The middle ground spatial planes, rather than receding the illusion of deep space, are pushed forward in space by their yellow-green and yellow hues before cooling to dark blue-greens to form the mountains in the distant background. The abstracted foliage is repeated on the clothing of the painting's inhabitants. The picture's compressed illusion of three-dimensional space, in combination with its flattened, abstracted shapes, creates a sense of pattern in its forms, making the scene less immediate in its perception by the viewer. More viewing time will be required to understand the spatial illusions and the figures that inhabit them. In addition to the picture's flattened space, the painting exhibits a strong asymmetry in its horizontal balance and is less typical in the portrayal of the Virgin Mary with the Christ child, which more often is depicted in a formal, symmetrical balance. This, along with the barely perceivable angel in the upper left quadrant of the picture, will reward extended time in the viewing of this image. Geometric composition 1 is composed of curvilinear and rectilinear geometric forms that are given their shape by two line thicknesses or weights. The circular form, accented by thin crossing lines in the center of the composition, provides the images with its primary area of focus. Circles are repeated in different scales in the upper and lower portions of the picture plane. Triangular-shaped parts of the large form are repeated in diagonal opposition to one another in the upper left and lower right quadrants of the picture plane. The title of the image identifies it by its type, lending no insight into any visual content beyond its form. The birth of Athena from the head of Zeus is an image charged with symbolism and narrative content. The title imbues the image with a strong storyline, that of the Greek god Zeus swallowing the pregnant Metis, goddess of counsel, and his giving birth to Athena, goddess of wisdom, by projecting her from his forehead. The image's contextual information provides the viewer's gestalt with recognition cues, allowing one to anthropomorphize the main form into the symbolic figure of Zeus containing Metis. The progression of large circles to small in the upper left-hand quadrant represents the abstracted narrative action of Athena's birth. Geometric composition 1 and the birth of Athena from the head of Zeus are identical in their visual information. Their visual content is made quite different by the contextual information provided by their titles. Please join us as we continue to explore form and content in upcoming videos.